Hey! So today I'm going to be telling you all my top 10 films. I know this content is different, but don't worry, this type of content will not take over the channel. I am super excited about this type of content though, because I am a film student and I love talking about this stuff. So let's get into the list. It is in order from least favorite to most favorite, but it's pretty flexible except for the top 3. Please stay until the end. Number 10. Big Fish. The main thing Big Fish has going for it is obviously its beautiful mise-en-scene that Tim Burton is so well known for. I also really like the world building and whimsical nature the film takes on. There's seriously so much imagination packed into these 125 minutes. The editing and characters were also a highlight for me, as well as the acting. Overall, it is a great adventure story with a cool emotional beat. I'm gonna note that Ewan McGregor is in this film because for some reason he's in a few of these films. I just think he's cool. Okay. Next is number 9. Star Wars. Okay, I know this is technically a franchise, but I don't care, it's my list. All 9 of the films are so much fun in my opinion, and although I obviously have my favorites, they all hold some nostalgia and iconicness for me. I love the basic good-bad story and archetypes, I love the world building and characters, and in general, I think they are just such a fun time and something everyone should see. Some people may say this should go higher on the list because it is great and such a classic film franchise, but I wanted to focus on my personal enjoyment and the technical elements of the films rather than how iconic they are. Also, Ewan McGregor is in some of them. Number 8. Pan's Labyrinth. A pretty iconic film that I think most people will at least have heard of. Many of you may not have seen this film because it is in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I still really enjoyed this film. I just watched it with subtitles and it wasn't an issue. One of the main reasons I like this film is for the technical elements. It is really well put together and the symbolism in the imagery and mise-en-scene is very cohesive and strong. The editing is also done really well and I enjoyed, in particular, the pacing and transitions. The characters, plot and time period are also really compelling. The imagination that has gone into this film is seriously impressive, and against the backdrop of the Spanish Civil War, the whimsy is really stand out. I definitely recommend trying this one out. Number 7. Catch Me If You Can. This film is based on the true story of Frank Abagnale and his crimes. The acting and plot are the main things I love about this film. It really sucks you in and makes you empathetic to all of the characters even though they are on opposite sides. The story is compelling with a lot of twists and the ending worked really well for me. Number 6. Shutter Island. The main draw of this film for me is definitely the plot, so don't let anyone spoil it for you. The concept is ambitious and executed really well in my opinion. Besides that, the acting was done really well and I also enjoyed the film on a technical level. The editing and mise-en-scene really works with the story and some of the visual effects and cinematography are very impressive. This is the sort of film you want to re-watch and on repeat viewings. There are so many more small things to notice that really make the experience shine. Number 5. Baby Driver. The main thing I really love about this film is the editing. Edgar Wright is known for his editing and it really shows in this film. The cutting to soundtrack is executed so well, and the soundtrack alone is great. The mise-en-scene that is built up throughout the film is beautiful and immersive, and although big action, fight, chase scenes aren't really my thing, I feel like the rest of the film has very chill energy and a quietness to the plot that stands out. The characters are really compelling and you can understand the choices they make throughout the film. Saying all of that, the film would definitely not be so high on my list, or maybe even not on my list at all if it wasn't for the technical elements. Number 4. Nowhere Boy. This is a film about John Lennon and the formation of the Quarrymen, the band before the Beatles. One of the main things I really love about this film is actually the acting. I think the actors all did a really great job with it and made the characters empathetic and compelling. The music is obviously great, and the final cover of In Spite of All the Danger sounds surprisingly similar to the original, just a cleaner sound. The film overall felt very real, and I always have a good time going back to it. I don't usually get emotional at films, but there were definitely a couple of moments in here that got to me. Side note, the film is also set in Liverpool, and that isn't too far from where I live. I love it when films are set near me because there aren't very many, and it's always cool to see your area and be represented. Number 3. City of God. City of God is so good. I just had to start by saying that. This is a non-linear film set in the favelas in Brazil in the 60s, 70s and maybe the 80s too, I can't quite remember. The film feels very real and loud and close. The acting is spectacular, especially when you consider the age of some of the cast and the fact some of them weren't actors when they started, some of them were kids from the favelas. The technical elements of this film are also fantastic. The editing is clever and a standout for this film. The mise-en-scene is spectacular for establishing setting and time and separating the time period and area of the film. One of the main things I love about this film has to be the characters and their relationships. I don't want to spoil anything, so I will just say that there were some moments between characters that were so powerful. I think I would love this film even if it was poorly made. The script and characters are great. I should mention this film is in Portuguese, but I don't speak Portuguese and I had no problem watching it with subtitles. I was just as immersed. It is such a shame that so many great films are overlooked because they aren't in English, so if foreign language films put you off, try this one out and see how you go. Number 2. Trainspotting. I really struggled to pick between my top 2 because I love both of these films so much, but I think this is the order I am happy with. Maybe. I love them both. However, this is a great film. First of all, the acting is great. Ewan McGregor is also in this film, as you probably know, and his performance is one of my favorites. All of the actors do a fantastic job, and even though most of the characters are horrible people, you really want to root for them. The technical elements in this film really blow it out of the water. I could spend hours analyzing each scene, there is just so much to unpack. The mise-en-scene is done so well and really elevates the film. The use of lighting is one of my favorite things, as I am kind of a lighting nerd, but even someone who knows nothing about lighting could probably point out some of its great moments in this film. The editing is done incredibly, the pace of each scene and how the film moves through time worked really well for me. The cinematography is actually pretty beautiful at times, and I really love the way it is used in certain scenes. Besides the technical elements, the plot and characters also really elevate this film. The plot is not one we're used to seeing and making everything more new and exciting. The characters are unlikable like I said, but you still want to root for them. It is an emotional film at times and knows which moments to keep quiet and which to make loud. I know some people claim the film glorifies drug abuse, but I don't see how anyone could come away from Trainspotting wanting to take drugs. The devastating consequences of the characters' actions are clearly on display and have a heartbreaking effect at times. I also think the time period of the 90s and setting work really well to add political commentary that I don't want to get into right now, or this video will go on forever, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Also, the film is mostly set in Edinburgh, which again, is near where I live. Finally, I wanted to add that this film has an amazing soundtrack that really cements it in the 90s and fits the aesthetic of the film really well. Overall, this film is iconic. Number 1. Billy Elliot. Billy Elliot really is amazing. I don't understand why more people don't love and talk about it. It is one of the best films I have ever seen. To start with the technical elements, I have to gush for a second about the amazing editing. I just love the transitions and the pacing of each scene, incredible. Besides that, the framing, cinematography, soundtrack, mise-en-scene, just everything. The film is so well made, and for such a low-budget film, so much thought and skill seems to have gone into the technical elements. Next, the characters and plot. The film makes you care about the characters so much. I want all of them to be happy and succeed. You completely understand the hard choices they have to make, and I empathized so much. The acting was brilliant, even with some of the cast being young. There were certain scenes that made me want to cry with the characters, which is rare for me. I could go on forever, but I know I literally will. I also have to say that the political commentary and realism is great. If you remember, I said that I love films that are set close to where I live, and this film is literally set in the same county as me. It's the only film I've ever seen or heard of set here, so that gave it some major points. But even if you're not from here, the setting plays a huge role and is done incredibly in my opinion. 1980s County Durham was a very turbulent place because of the miners' strikes, and this is a brilliant background to the film and is executed outstandingly. It is kept as a subplot but explored so well, and the way it is incorporated through the technical elements is one of the stand-out things about this film for me. The soundtrack is also great, and I love the role music plays in this film. I'm sure you're all sick of hearing me gush about this film now, and if I haven't already convinced you to watch it, I don't know how I ever will, so I'll end the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this new style of content. I hope to do a few more of these kinds of videos in the future. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts on these films below. I will reply to as many as I can. Bye.